I have known the owners of the Outdoorsman's in Phoenix for over 20 years. They are the authority on optics and hunting gear. Outdoorsman's is the leading designer and manufacturer of high-quality tripods, mounting accessories, and pack systems for all hunters. Their customer service is the best in the business. Go to outdoorsmans.com or call 1-800-291-8065 and use the J. Scott promo code to receive 10% off any products.
Welcome to the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. Today we have the owner and head designer, co-owner, I guess I should say, Drew Rouse of Real Game Calls. Drew, how you doing?
I'm good. Just unwinding a little bit after the busy archery season that we had up here, and yeah, things are good, man. How about yourself?
It was awesome to keep. Yeah, good. It was awesome to keep up with you. That's one thing I love about social media these days is you can keep up with all your buddies and get hunt recaps. And I love on your Instagram how you were doing, daily updates and videos and, kind of some instructional stuff. I tell you what's been amazing for me to see, I've gotten unreal feedback from guys using the elk reel, which is one of the main calls that Real Game Calls makes, but the elk reel had several guide buddies of mine that used it this season and said they used the heck out of it and tried to beat it up, and the authentic sounds it keeps coming back to me. And then I guess where I'm going is on your Instagram, it's the feedback and the pictures of all the people that used the elk reel this year. It's really got to be rewarding to see people having success, being able to, make authentic cow elk sounds, particularly, and having a lot of success actually calling elk in. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's been really cool. I got tons of messages on Instagram or emails and even some phone calls from people that, I sat down in a meadow, I used your call in first opening morning of the muzzleloader season, and I was tagged out in 20 minutes, stuff like that. And they're just like, man, or, they never hunted elk before, and they said, they got the call from me and Ben, and they went out and killed their first bull, and how, people are really excited when something like that happens anyways. So, it's been really cool. Like, just seeing how happy everybody is that even people that didn't tag out or whatever that used the call and called in a bunch of elk and got to experience just the interaction with the animals. And those people have been calling me too, just being like, hey man, I didn't tag out, but man, this is awesome. I called in. So
that's got to be extremely rewarding. It's one of those things. I think this is the actual first full season. I mean, we're not even Colorado, Montana, Utah. There's all sorts of elk hunts. I think the first season in Colorado rifle starts on Saturday here in, a couple days, and we're not even through the first season, but we're pretty much through the archery season. And this is kind of the first real season after you got your patents and everything all taken care of, where you actually were mass producing this call and getting it out there, and to get the hundreds of testimonials and pictures and everything as quickly as you did. I noticed like early on in September, all of a sudden, boom, 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 your Instagram, you were getting photos, and I was getting guys sending me photos of saying, Jay, thanks for turning me on to the elk reel. Pretty dang satisfying to know that, I had guys that have called elk for a long time that, said they love the call, as well as people that, have never been able to make good sounds. For those people, it's got to be really cool that, they finally found a call that anybody can use this call.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, if you've never used a call, you can absolutely pick it up. And what I got sent a video from, one of our team guys' nephew, who's 3 years old, playing the thing the other day. So, but like you said, people that were experts or have been elk hunting a lot longer than me have reached out to me and said, hey, I'm able to say things in elk language that I could never, do before. And not only that, but every single time I try and do it, it never once failed me. And that's really cool, because that was idea in designing it was like, let's make something that works every time. And
consistency.
Yeah.
Yeah. Drew, for those listeners out there that maybe didn't catch our first podcast that we did prior to elk season, give a little bit of your background. You come from a competitive, I guess it's called down or mountain style. I forget the exact name, but you can correct me. Mountain style, aggressive skiing and backcountry skiing, and you're a ski maker, and you got the idea about this elk call. Tell me and the listeners a little bit about yourself, even if you feel like it's redundant from the first episode, because maybe there's some people that didn't hear that one.
Sure. Yeah. No. I mean, I moved to Colorado in the late '90s. I worked at a ski shop in high school, and I wanted to be a pro skier. I had some misguided dreams, but anyways, I moved out here. I competed in a whole bunch of different kinds of skiing. I think the last thing I was competing in was big mountain. And I ski in a lot of like ads for Vail Resorts and stuff. I had a few sponsors and stuff like that. And I ended up as part owner of a ski company called Gray Skis that was based in Denver. And things just kind of weren't going right with it. It's a really hard business to make money. And my business partner kind of, he gave it his all and kind of just decided that, that was all he had. And so I decided to move it up to the mountains. And I had developed a prototype of the elk reel 4 years ago now, and just kind of been sitting on it with the patent applications. And me and Ben were using it and testing it, just developing it as we went along. But this thing kind of snowballed in May. I found out like what how my patent application was doing, and I was like, okay, we can't afford to sit on our hands with this anymore. We stopped making skis, and we've dove full into this ever since, and then it's now like 4 or 5 months later, and, things are just really taken off with it. So we haven't made any skis in a while, so I'm not even sure, how that's going to go.
That's not breaking your heart, is it?
No, not really. I mean, like I liked making skis and it's awesome, but it's, like I said, it's a really hard business to make money in. I think K2 Skis just went under, and they're one of the biggest manufacturers there is. So I like this business. I mean, making elk calls, like it really doesn't get any better for me. I love calling elk and being in the woods, and so I'm happy as can be with the with the development of us making elk calls and maybe not making any skis. So
yeah, the first time I heard about you, I had just gotten to Colorado. It was kind of late May, and I came every year. I go from Arizona here to Colorado and spend the summers there in Carbondale. And I ran into a friend of mine, Michael Shook, who's a adventure skier and backcountry skier there in Carbondale. He sells real estate and is a fly fishing guide also, and just really good shape, mountain bikes, been a friend for a long, long time. And he says, "Hey Jay," he says, I was at this party over near Vail, and got to talking to some guys, and they make elk calls. I said, "Really?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "I one thing led to another, and your name kind of came up, and he said I told these guys I would tell you about their elk call." So he had me I was like, what is it? And he's like, at the time, your website was elkreel.com, and he's like, here's the information. And it was actually Ben's information, your partner. And so I checked it out on the website and went on there and checked it out. And as soon as I heard the sound on YouTube, I picked up the phone the next day and I called and I said, "Hey, I gotta see this call firsthand. I gotta see what's making this real nasally, this real sweet sound." And so I drove from Carbondale up to Gypsum, where your headquarters are, and pulled in there, and you guys were in there cutting all sorts of stuff, and there was dust flying, and it was awesome. Sawdust was, it was cool, and you handed me one, and you're like, "Try it out," and it was amazing right out of the get-go, how nasally and how sweet, and it just had that particular sound. And I thought, man, this is something. And getting to meet you that day and telling you, I felt like you really had something. I think it's one thing to hear a sound and go, yeah, there's something here that is different, as far as different than other calls out there. There's nothing that can make this sound, in my opinion. There's that certain nasal, authentic quality to it that's different than any call out there. It was like, oh man, I got to get some of these calls. And we sat there for probably 30 minutes, you, me, and Ben, just chatting and calling, and my mind was kind of blown. But one thing that's pretty cool is to hear something like that and see it, and then know that it's validated. I mean, I know what a good elk call sounds like, but then to have it, you start mass producing it, and then to have it go through a September season and get feedback from guys, literally all over the Western U.S., having that same success and recognizing the quality of sound that I heard. It's pretty neat to see a company out of Gypsum just, literally blow up, and you and Ben are making calls as fast as you can. You've already made a pretty cool little adjustment in the call, and I think it will help with the consistency by having those plastic tabs. And talk to me a little bit about the trial and error period of, you've had it for 4 years, and you're kind of constantly tweaking it and trying to make it better and more consistent. Is that one of the biggest challenges you have as a call maker?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's just like we came up with a good idea and it worked, but it's like you always want to make things better. So, and then you have to we have to be in business, so we have to sell some. So you're like, well, I'm doing product development, but at the same time, I got to say, well, this is good, this will work, and people will like this, so let's sell these like this. But then, as things progress, like I'm not sure how many we had made to start this season. It was quite a few, but now we've made in the thousands. Well, practice makes everybody better. So, just getting more efficient in how we make it. And like you said, we started getting some pins made of plastic to go and hold the reed in place. And that really helps the consistency. The smooth surface of the plastic pins makes the reed sit just that much better. Yeah.
So how did your, sorry to interrupt you, how did your season, it started out with a bang. I believe you called a cow in right away to point blank range, and you just filled your tag right off the bat. Tell me a little bit about how your season started and how it progressed.
Oh yeah, no, it definitely started off hot. I think we were talking about last time when we did the last episode about how the bulls would start the season bugling. You were asking me if they bugled the opening week. Well, yeah, they were screaming, but it was all the little bulls, and once they called in a hunter or two, and they spooked, by day 3 they had stopped. And so day 2, they were still talking in the morning, and me and Ben got out there in the dark, hiking up the mountain, and he saw 2 5x5s. They were bugling, and we got right on them, and I was like, well, you go and try and shoot it, and I'll try and call it in, and we got separated. So I'm walking up the mountain and just walking on a game trail, and the elk walking right at me, so I stopped, put the elk reel in my mouth, and chirped at it a couple times, and it just picked up its head, looked at me for a second, put its head back down, started walking at me, and walked behind a tree. And what I did, I chirped it like 10 yards to stop it and shot it in the heart. So yeah, that was a great start to the season. The elk really responded well to the call, and I was pumped because it'd seen me walking and then just stopped it and had it come in. And that's pretty cool. When elk normally see people, they usually just take off. So,
well, I think that goes to the authentic sound, and it was sure that it was an elk, and it might have seen your outline and what have you. You probably had good camo on, but the sound alone put it at ease. And that's one of the things I noticed using it this season is it's especially elk that have been pressured. I think making quality, consistent, good sounds is important. And I think the call too, it doesn't allow you to blow it too loud. And I think that will really help people where it, I don't think you can blow this call too loud, where I think there's other external reed calls that, guys may be able to make good sounds out of it, but they end up blowing the call too loud. I think this call, for whatever reason, you can blow it pretty loud, but I don't think you can get so loud that you're going to like blow elk out. So I think that's another thing that, makes it pretty sweet, is you can get soft and, little subtle, little, inside the herd talk, as well as, kind of locator and getting them fired up. Did you notice as the season progressed, drawing your call out and having a more estrusy type sound and nasally type sound? Did you find that you got more reaction? And I was curious what the feedback was on that as well.
Well, I don't think that I really tried to change my technique for calling for the whole season. I think when you hit that really high-pitched note, even on your like short, sweet, and like low-volume notes, I think it just makes a big difference. When I hear elk or when I get close to them, especially this year, like I was really trying to pay attention to like everything they would do and everything they'd say on like another level of like just wanting to learn more. And they just sound so high-pitched, especially like once they get pressured. They'll just do a really soft and high-pitched kind of mute. So, but when I would try and call, I would try and sound like multiple elk. So I would do that estrus kind of assembly mew that Chris Rowe talks about. And
like that demanding kind of drawn out kind of, yeah.
So I'd start with some calf chirps and real high, like basically the videos that you were putting on your Instagram, you were doing really good, what I consider like high-pitched calf kind of like sounds. And so doing that and starting out with that and then transitioning into the assembly mew and then a real nice demanding whine at the end of it. And then going back to the high-pitched calf sounds. And then, I was bugling with the reel this year. So pretty much didn't carry anything but a tube that I bought and 2 elk reels or 3 elk reels, depending on the day it was. And I would just bugle with one and bugle with the other and try and sound like 2 different little bulls. Just, hey, I got some cows up here. And even the last night of the season, I called in, I think it was about 8 cows and a 6x6. And, by that point in the season, they're super spooked, especially where I was hunting that night. And they still came in. They came right in. And had Ben been with me, I might have had him shoot that bull. But he just when I got to about 50 yards and his cow spooked on me. And if I'd had a shooter there, it probably would have been a slam dunk. So,
yeah,
but
that's cool.
Yeah, it was just really cool to see how they reacted to it. Last year, the year before, I'd kind of go out in the woods. And I grew up in Maryland, so I'm definitely not the best elk hunter in the world. I'm not the best elk caller, and I'm trying to learn more as we go. But, I'm going out into the woods and calling in elk, and it was, it's really cool to see the way they reacted to what I was able to learn over the summer, like listening to your podcast and listening to some of the stuff that you did with Michael Park and Chris Rowe, and even the Phelps episodes. I learned a lot from them. So
for sure, absolutely. Let's take a quick break here.
GoHunt.com Insider is by far the most valuable tool a Western hunter could give themselves. GoHunt.com Insider are the industry leaders and #1 source for Western hunting for a lot of reasons. GoHunt.com Insider have changed the game for how hunts and hunting information are found. Within a matter of minutes using Filtering 2.0, you'll be able to filter by state, species, residency, odds of drawing a tag, specific hunting dates, and harvest success percentages to find the hunts that fit exactly what you're looking for. If you are a guy that applies across the West or just in your home state but want to find some new opportunity, there's no better way to do it than using GoHunt.com Insider. As an exclusive offer to my listeners, if you sign up for a GoHunt.com Insider membership for $149 a year and use the promo code JScott at checkout, you'll receive a $50 KUIU gift card. Head on over to GoHunt.com/insider and get yourself the most valuable membership a hunter could have. PhoneScope is a company that makes custom-molded, precisely engineered smartphone digiscoping adapters. Photographing wildlife has never been easier. It is simple to text photos and videos from your smartphone and share them with your friends. PhoneScope stands behind their product with a 100% money-back guarantee. Get yours now by using the JScott16 promo code and receive 10% discount on all purchases. Check them out at PhoneScope. That's PhoneSkope.com or on Instagram at PhoneScope.
Okay, Drew, we've got Colorado rifle seasons are starting here, and they're going to have the first, second, third, and fourth rifle season. And I'm curious your thoughts on the elk reel, and do you think the call will be as effective as the rifle seasons go on? And curious what your thoughts are as far as vocalizations. And I talked to Cliff Gray earlier, and he was thinking that this first rifle season they're actually probably going to be bugling pretty good. Curious your thoughts as well.
Yeah, I mean, second rifle season a couple years ago, I shot a bull that bugled outside my tent all night. So they are, the cows are going to come back in the second cycle, and there's still some rut activity going on, So first season here coming up. Last year, I wouldn't say most of our elk got killed by rifle hunters, but a good portion of the elk that we killed last year, when I gave calls out to a bunch of my buddies, after the patents went pending, I started handing them out to people being like, try this. I want some feedback. And a lot of them were rifle hunters. So they had a lot of positive results last season, and I don't expect that it's going to be any different. But I will say that the way that you use it might change as the season goes on. Like, starting out first season, these elk haven't been hunted. Well, especially, I can only speak for here in Colorado, but they haven't been hunted since about, the last week of September. So they should be happy and bugling and bulls chasing cows. And, if I had a tag, that's what I'd be doing opening morning. I'd be calling and trying to call on a bull or calling a bunch of cows, towing their bull behind them. And then I think I did a lot of still hunting when I've hunted a lot of cows over the years with a rifle, and I would always use my call, my open reed call, and muffle it as much as I could to make it as quiet as possible, and then I would still hunt. And, the elk, when, they hear another elk walking through the woods, they might give you a couple seconds to get a shot off. And I think that that's probably, as the rifle seasons progress, how, you should change your tactics from, hey, I'm going to sit in a meadow and try and call on a bull, to, hey, I'm going to go try and dig a spooked bull out of the timber and sound like another elk, creeping through the timber. And I think the consistency and the fact that you can blow it really quietly will help those kind of hunters. And, people standing in the meadow and they see elk running by, they were spooked. Well, if you blow this thing as loud as you can, you're going to absolutely get a good sound and stop that elk, and maybe you can get a shot off using a call that way. So, I mean, there's a bunch of different ways to use an elk call. But
for sure. And you actually, You've been telling me that you were using it. You've been using it in the spring to call turkeys, and wasn't very long ago I got a picture that you had called in a turkey. Tell me how that went down. How that all happened.
Well, it's funny. It's a funny story because I met this girl that listened to your show the last time, so I've been kind of dating her, and she's a hunting guide in western Colorado at the Kessler Canyon Ranch.
So wait a minute, before you get into this, so the J. Scott Outdoors podcast is now a romance service and helping guys with their dating lives?
I guess so. It's just a small world.
I love it.
She went to college with one of our pro staff girls. It's an elk hunting guide in northwest Colorado, Amanda. And Amanda introduced me. One thing led to another. We started hanging out and talking about hunting. And we have all the same interests, so we've just been hanging out and. Yeah,
I'll add that to my testimonials.
Yeah, you can put that on your resume, dating services.
Okay, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, but she works at the Kessler Canyon Ranch, so the manager there, Jim, manages all the hunting and everything, invited me out and said, hey, got a ton of turkeys. Why don't you come out and hunt? There's going to be anybody here for a couple of days. And so I went out there with Megan, and I used the turkey call prototype. It's a little bit different than the elk reel. It functions exactly the same, and there's the same kind of consistency and easy to use, and then like a variable volume. So I used that, and I saw some turkeys underneath the cottonwoods and kind of just creeping along using the call, and they were going the other way, and I turned them around and had them walking towards me, and so I'm kind of like tiptoeing up from one cottonwood to another, if you can imagine, like a Elmer Fudd, using my call in my mouth with my bow there, and I ended up getting a nice tom with like a nice 9 or 10 inch beard, and no, that was pretty cool. So
you said he was strutting around like it was springtime?
There was 4 of them. Yeah, there was 4 toms and a couple of jakes, and the toms, that I started doing some yelps, and I mean, I'm not an expert in like what turkeys are saying. I'd like to learn a lot more about it, but I did a couple of cuts and some putts and some yelps, and sure enough, they fanned out and started strutting. So I was just like, man, that's really cool. And I was filming, and my camera, like, I need to bring Ben. He's a much better filmer than I am, because my camera stopped filming, and so I just left it in the field, and I didn't get any of it on film. But it was pretty cool nonetheless, just to see him strutting in the fall. I just figured, maybe I'd stop them from going away from me, or interest them in some other turkeys over there. I don't know what they were thinking, but they might have had love on their mind.
Yeah, for sure. That's pretty neat. So are you going to be mass producing turkey call as well for the elk reel?
Yeah, I think, I spent the last, months beefing up our patent application and working with my intellectual property attorneys. And so we added that a while ago, and then we've added a bunch of other stuff. The call functionally as an elk call, I've had people calling in deer in Wisconsin already. So, I need to work on it and tweak it and do a lot of product development before we ever release any kind of a deer call. But I think just if it will make the same kind of sound that an open reed call will make, then there's no reason to think that it won't. You can't use it as in between different kinds of species. So we've called in turkeys and shot those. I've made a variation that I use for predator calling. So I think the sky's the limit with it. It's just amazing how it's gone from just wanting to make a little elk call to what we got planned now. So
yeah, that's pretty neat to be able to transition and have seasons transition and be able to, you've been using the call for, lots of different things. It's got to be pretty neat to see how, you're kind of moving with the seasons and being able to, it's just fun probably making your own call and then having it be a success.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, I've been trying to stay humble and trying to smell the roses as we go along. But I mean, it's been really cool because it really is an innovative thing, and it really helps people to hunt and be more productive with their hunting. So I mean, it's taken off in like a manner that I wouldn't have not imagined. So it's just a really rewarding experience, and like I'm trying to just make sure that me and Ben, enjoy the ride as much as we can. So I mean, I'm gonna go hunt a mule deer buck with my buddy who's coming to town, and then I'm gonna go to Wisconsin and hunt deer, and then we're gonna come back here, and then before we know it, it'll be trade show season, and then we'll be hunting turkeys again, and then into the elk thing again. So I mean, it's going to be quite the ride over the next 12 months, I think. So
that's great. Do you have any specific trade shows that you're going to be at for sure?
Yeah, we're doing a bunch of the ISE shows in Denver and Salt Lake and Scottsdale, and then I'm going to be at the ATA show, and then our calendar is going to fill up, I think, here real quick. But with us putting most of our energy into producing elk calls and trying to keep up with the archery hunters' demand, I have just now started back to, hey, this is a business, and we need to strategize and come up with what we're going to be doing all winter. So I don't think it's going to be any problem to sell a bunch of elk calls. It's just the execution at this point, come up with a good strategy and then go and execute the plan this winter and see what happens. So
That's awesome. I know after our last podcast, I think that a couple days later you sent me a text that the floodgates have been opened. It sounds like you had a big push from podcast listeners ordering the elk reel, and that's fantastic. And I encourage the listeners out there to definitely check out. Drew has a new website, realgamecalls.com, and you can actually go on there and order these calls, and you can use the J Scott promo code, and believe that gives them a 20% discount. Is that true, Drew?
Yeah, that's true. So go on there and you can order as many as you want and use that discount code.
So with obviously the changing of the seasons, moving into rifle seasons, but we're also moving into a season that typically is one of your favorite in that ski season. Have you guys got much snow there yet, or had any preliminary storms, or what's the forecast look? Any storms predicted or anything coming up for this November, or what's it looking like?
I haven't really paid too much attention to the outlook for the winter, but we did have some snowstorms, so it's already snowed in town. We had snow during the end of the archery season, and I think it's snowed a couple times since then. So, yeah, I don't know how much skiing I'm going to get to do this winter, but I'm going to enjoy it when I do get to go. But probably be on the road a bunch. I think Ben's going to mainly take over the production of the calls, and then I've got so much stuff going on. It's crazy. So we're trying to split up our workload, if you will, and that way we can divide and conquer. And I think I'll be on the road a lot this winter. So, but that's all right. I really love being able to go out and talk to people about elk calling and meeting. After your podcast, I was getting a countless amount of phone calls from people who just wanted to talk to me about elk hunting, which is awesome. So, yeah,
that's for sure.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool right during the middle of the season. You and I were exchanging some texts, and you said that very thing. You said something to the effect of, enjoy it, take time to smell the roses, and that resonated with me. And we had pretty good text going back and forth, and it's easy when you get in the middle of season and things are hectic, and you've got scheduling, and you're trying to pound it day in and day out, and sometimes you have to just make yourself stop, slow down, and enjoy it, because it's one of those things that doesn't last all year long. As far as elk bugling, you may get a month, maybe a month and a half, depending on where you're at. So it's certainly brought perspective for me, and that was a cool perspective that you were able to twist on it, for sure.
Yeah, no, enjoy it while you can. I think every morning when I would be hiking up the mountain, wherever I was hunting, or just trying to reflect as I was going up, this just doesn't happen. So enjoy it and enjoy every part of it. So even if some of it's hard, that's, I think one of the things I learned in skiing is the many times that I tore my ACL or did something, I had to rehab it back. I think I've learned to enjoy that, as I look back, you could have just walked away, you could have just quit, but you never did. So you just enjoy it. And it's kind of like when you're hiking up the mountain, it's early in the morning, you're 15 days in or something, and you're tired, and you kind of wanted to stay in bed or whatever. Just enjoy the suffering. Just the struggle is the prize, if you will. You're not going to get to do that in a couple of weeks. So, just trying to keep some perspective on it. Hey, this might be not the most enjoyable part of elk hunting, but I'm going to try and savor it because it's going to be fleeting, and then I'm going to have to wait 11 months to get to go bow hunt elk again. So, yeah.
Sure. Well, that's awesome. Well, buddy, congrats on the success of your company and the success of, developing a call that works so well for so many people. And I know I had great success with it this year, and just really enjoyed using it and had good reaction from the elk, and posted some videos on my Instagram account. I know you've got some great stuff on your Instagram account. Can you I believe I said the realgamecalls.com, and then the Instagram is just realgamecalls on Instagram. And if they want to order calls, the best way is just to go right on the website and pick out the call that they like, and they can order it right there, correct?
Yeah, that's the best way to do it. I mean, if people have questions or they want to, what the difference is between the calls, I think we put up a better description of what the difference is. It's just the wood. Wood changes the pitch of the call slightly. I believe that Zero Cote call, the Z that we ended up calling it, and ended up being probably our most popular call. We sold out of it right away, and we, have been selling tons of those. But go on the website. That's the best way to get it. And if you have questions, call the phone number. We'll pick up.
Yeah. And you've got those Z calls back, and you found another place to get the wood, and so I think you're going to be able to fulfill those orders again, right?
Yeah, no, we've got it back on the website, and I don't anticipate we'll run out again this season. So that would, that's our plan anyways, try and have enough to sell for the rest of the year, and then we'll get into trying to take this thing retail after the season, so that you won't have to order it off the website. Hopefully you'll just be able to go down to your local sporting goods store and pick up your elk reel, which, that'll be a lot better for everyone being able to just go grab one. So.
Awesome, buddy. Well, can't wait to talk to you. Can't wait to hear how these next couple hunts with your buddies and such go. And turkey season will be here before we know it as well. And I'll continue to try and smell the roses as we move forward here. And just appreciate your sponsorship of this podcast. And look forward to getting out and doing some fishing next summer when I get up there. And if you get out and do some skiing, be safe. And I'm sure you'll shred it up and down the mountain. So it's cool. Maybe I'll see you at a trade show or something too down the road. So want to encourage my listeners to check out your website, and just thanks for your friendship.
Yeah, no, thanks, Jay. I appreciate it. It's been good getting to know you and chatting with you about elk. It's not my friends are all jealous. They're like, "What do you mean you get to bounce tips off Jay Scott?" And I'm like, "Yeah, he's my buddy." So.
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate your support of the podcast, and awesome calls. Loved using them. Can't wait to mess with the turkey calls and such coming up. And for me, elk season's kind of winding down and transitioning here to coos deer and mule deer and sheep. And like I said, turkey season will be here before we know it. So it's just awesome time. It's that time of year that we all look forward to, and we're right in the middle of it. So God bless you, buddy. I'll catch you later, and look forward to speaking with you down the road here.
Yep. Thanks, Jay. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
Real Game Calls, featuring the elk reel. Real Game Calls makes innovative, realistic, and easy-to-master calls using their proprietary, revolutionary design. They are located and manufactured in Gypsum, Colorado. Their calls were designed and battle-tested on some of the hardest hunted terrain on Earth. Check out elkreel.com. Use the promo code JScott and receive a 20% discount on all purchases. Go to www.elkreel.com.